Beneath a bruised purple sky, Mara raced down the cobbled path of Gossamer Town, her breath steaming in the chill air. Everything around her looked wrong. Flowers hung shapeless and gray. The river, once silver blue, oozed like melted lead between dull green banks. Even the lamplighter's flame, it barely flickered orange. "Mara, wait!" Old Bellamy's voice cracked from behind. He caught up, leaning heavily on his crystalline cane. His hair, ashen like the sky, flowed around tired eyes. "It happened again, didn't it?" She nodded, holding out her apron. The sprigs of paintbrush flowers she'd picked were as colorless as muddy snow. Yesterday, they were red. Now they're nothing. Bellamy frowned. "The fading is spreading. We must find answers." They hurried to Bellamy's cottage at the edge of town. Inside, colors lingered in glass jars and tapestries, a sharp contrast to the world beyond. The old man unrolled a mosaic map on the table, a patchwork of luminous tiles, each pulsing faintly. "This is the Prism map," Bellamy said, laying a trembling finger on a spot near the center where the colors had dulled to gray. "It tracks the life of the Vale, and Mara, the blights converging on the Prism heart." The windows rattled. Mara glanced at the map, then at Bellamy. "I'll go. Someone has to. You're brave, but you'll need more than courage." He handed her a shard of crystal, light swirling inside. "Hold on to this, and trust those who see the world differently." Before she could ask more, a long shadow flickered across the wall, a living silhouette watching. Mara shivered. What was it waiting for? With the prism map secured in her cloak, she stepped into the dusk, vowing to outpace the creeping grayness. The journey had begun. The fate of the Prism Vale depended on her. Mara picked her way through the twilit forest, every step echoing the hush that suffocated the woods. Her boots left pale imprints on the moss. She could almost hear the quiet sigh of the world losing its vibrancy. Branches tangled overhead like grasping claws. Still clutching the crystal shard, she paused to study the prism map. The once glowing tiles near the eastern border blinked faintly, urging her toward the gloaming flats. A flicker of movement out of the corner of her eye made Mara freeze. A shadow peeled away from the trunk of an ancient willow, eyes glinting, shape uncertain. "Hello?" Mara called out, voice too loud in the thick silence. A low rumble like stones sliding together. "Apprentice, you seek color lost? The Vale remembers." Mara's heart hammered. "Who are you?" "I am Remnant. Once I was painted on the world. Now I am what's left." The shadow moved closer, blurring and stretching until it hovered between human and beast. Balance was broken. The prism heart dims. Mara tried to steady herself. "Can you help me?" Remnant's form rippled. "Not alone, but I can guide." The shadow extended a smoky limb, gently brushing her map. "Beware the sentient crystals in the flats. They hunger for light." Swallowing her fear, Mara nodded. "Then guide me." They walked together, Remnant gliding at the edge of Mara's vision. The path soon turned slick beneath her boots, and the colorless grass bristled with tiny glass spines. Ahead, a faint chiming sound echoed, unnatural, discordant. "The flats," Remnant whispered, retreating further into the dusk. "Only the brave endure." Mara drew a breath, clutching the crystal. The heart of the Prism Vale and its secrets waited somewhere in the shadowed wasteland ahead. The gloaming flats stretched before Mara, an endless mirror of colorless crystals poking from the soil like broken teeth. Every step sent ripples of glassy echoes, and the air hummed with a sickly tune that made her teeth ache. Remnant hung back, just a faint patch of shadow trembling at her heels. Crystals jutted at odd angles, reflecting twisted, distorted versions of Mara's face. She gripped her shard tighter. As she took another trembling step, the flats responded. Each crystal suddenly pulsed with internal light, their jagged shapes stirring. A chorus of voices rang out, crisp, brittle, and hungry. "You bring color, you bring spark." Mara froze. "I need to pass," she stammered. The largest crystal, a great prism the height of a house, rolled toward her with scraping grace. Facets spun and shimmered, projecting hazy rainbows that collapsed into gray as soon as they touched the ground. "Give us the crystal, child, or your color will fade." Back pressed against a smaller spike, Mara shook her head. "I can't. The prism heart needs it." A chorus of slivers wailed, "We hunger!" Remnant's voice rasped inside Mara's mind, faint and urgent. "Stand strong. Remember the shard's gift." Mara closed her eyes. Despair flickered, but then she remembered Bellamy's words, and with effort she focused her will. The crystal in her hand blazed, radiating a warm, color-filled light. For an instant, faint red and blue spilled into the flats. A hush fell. The largest prism hesitated, shrinking backward. We remember? Color? We remember hope? Mara stepped forward, light washing over the nearest crystals. Their chorus shifted. The hunger turned to a melodic, grateful hum. She passed, heart thundering as the flat's colorless chorus transformed into a song of possibility, a riddle half solved and a promise of help if needed. As she reached the far side, Remnant reappeared, relief palpable in its shifting form. Few resist the prism hunger. You grow, Mara. You are changing. Mara stared out over the fading world, certain now that her journey was about more than restoring color. She was changing too, and the veil was depending on both. Past the gloaming flats, Mara found herself in a dreamlike orchard. The trees loomed crooked and heavy with ghostly, translucent fruits. Every leaf bore a hint of once vivid green, a memory more than a reality. Shadows danced beneath the branches, and colorless crows watched with glassy eyes. Remnant glided in the center, but now the veil tests your heart. A sudden crash ahead sent birds screeching. Mara darted forward, just in time to see a small figure scrambling from beneath a fallen branch. It was a boy younger than her, with skin dusted in gray and a look of fierce determination in his eyes. "Who are you?" Mara asked, lowering her voice. The boy raised his chin. "I'm Thim. I've been following the color too. My village vanished when the grayness came." Remnant's form wavered, oddly smaller. "Trust is rare here, but allies matter." Mara hesitated, but Thim's hand was steady. "Together?" he asked. She nodded. "Together. But the veil are dangers, shadows, living crystals." Thim grinned, showing a missing tooth. "I've got tricks, and I'm not afraid of shadows." He produced a tiny prism of his own, though its faint blue glow paled beside Mara's crystal. They pressed onward, picking their way through the orchard. The prism map pulsed warmly, guiding them toward a glade where the ground was etched in ancient colorful mosaics, reds, purples, golds, though all dimmed by the haze. As they entered the glade, the temperature dropped. Shadows thickened around the edges, living, shifting, waiting. A voice crystalline and ancient echoed from the trees. "Two seek the spectrum, but we pay the price?" The ground trembled as roots and shadow rose, twining together to block their path. Mara swallowed, but Thim grabbed her hand. "We keep going, no matter what." She squeezed his hand, hope igniting inside. Step by step, they prepared to face the hidden trial, and perhaps discover the root of the veil's suffering. The glade's shadowy roots slithered across the mosaic floor, forming a living web before Mara and Thim. The air turned heavy, each breath tasting like dust and old secrets. Their crystals glimmered faintly, Mara's outstripping Thim's, but both threatened by the encroaching gloom. "Do not falter," Remnant whispered, drifting along the mosaic edges. "This challenge demands more than courage. It asks for sacrifice." Mara's voice quavered as she stepped forward. "What does the veil want from us?" The roots parted just enough for a swirling shadow to take shape, its eyes deep as forgotten wells. "Give of yourselves. What color would you lose to save the rest?" Thim's hand trembled, but he held firm. "We can't lose more. Isn't there another way?" The specter's gaze narrowed. "Only through surrender, the color of memory of something cherished. That is the price." They hesitated. Mara glanced at Thim. He nodded, breathing fast. Mara closed her eyes, summoning the memory of her mother's laughter, bright and golden. "If she had to." "No," Thim shouted, teeth gritted. "Take my blue. The day I found my prism by the river, the sky was the bluest I'd ever seen. Take that. Just let us pass." An aching hush. The shadow leaned close. Blue light leaked from Thim, flowing into the mosaic and staining the roots a shimmering cerulean. His cheeks stayed determined, but Mara caught the shimmer of tears. The shadows receded. "You have paid the price. Pass, seekers." Mara put an arm around Thim's shoulder. "That was brave. Are you all right?" He sniffed. "It hurts, but the veil's worth it." Together, guided by Remnant and the ever-fainter prism map, they pressed deeper toward the heart of the veil, forever changed, with loss nipping at their heels and a new strength blooming where hope hadn't dared to grow. As Mara and Thim crossed through the rejuvenated glade, the world seemed to shimmer with new tension. Blue flashes lingered in the air, hints of Thim's sacrificed color echoing in the wind. Thim walked quietly, watching the sky as if chasing something he couldn't quite remember. A rocky archway ahead, overgrown with pale vines, led them into Prism Hollow. The very place where, centuries ago, the original wedgers of the Vale had first called forth the spectrum. The light here was thinner, almost porous. Remnant drifted alongside, voice softer now. The prism heart is close, but the hollow tests the mind. Your doubts may be your undoing. The hollow proved true to its name. The landscape rippled and blurred, colors swirling and vanishing in great sucking pulls. Illusion and reality twisted together. Mara saw flashes of Gossamer Town, her home, her friends, lost in a swirl of gray fog. From the mist stepped a figure, tall, draped in shimmering robes that caught what little light remained. Its face, her mother's. Or was it? Mara stared, heart aching. "Mama? Come home, love," the figure said, arms outstretched. Behind her, figures from Thim's memories emerged as well. A father's whistle, a sister's laugh, blue weaving through them like ribbons. Thim faltered, tears in his eyes. "They're not real," he whispered, voice brittle. Mara forced herself to look away from the illusion's comfort. Clutching her crystal, she shouted, "You're not my mother, just a shadow. We're here to restore color." The illusions flickered, then howled, dissolving into swirling shadow. The hollow itself trembled, but Mara and Thim didn't back down. Their crystals flared, and for a moment strips of vivid color laced the mist. Gold, blue, green, and red, faint but brighter than hope alone. Remnant's form billowed protectively before them. "You defied your own heart's temptations. The way is open." Together they stepped from the hollow as the shadowy past receded, their connection stronger, their resolve burning with a fiercer light. Ahead the map pulsed with urgent color, a clear sign that the prism heart awaited, if they could withstand what was yet to come. Beyond the prism hollow, the world felt closer to breaking. The path to the Vale's heart twisted through stone corridors laced with tangled light, where every shadow seemed to breathe and every color threatened to flee. The prism map throbbed desperately, tiles flickering between brilliance and gray. Mara caught up to Thim, who was staring at his dim prism. "The blue's really gone," he whispered. She touched his arm. "Your courage is still here, and you gave it willingly. Maybe you're stronger for it." Thim managed a wobbly smile. "I hope so. What if that's all we have left, Mara? Hope?" Remnant, trailing behind them, pulsed with gentle approval. "Hope built the Vale before. Now it will save it, if you wield it as boldly as your crystals." At the heart's approach, the corridor narrowed. Suddenly, the stones began to shimmer and peel away, revealing a domed chamber alive with fractured light. Floating above a dais was the prism heart, a crystal the size of a lantern, suspended mid-air, but so dim its colors looked almost dead. Surrounding it were beings like Remnant, dozens of living shadows with sorrowful eyes. They whispered, a chorus of regret. "The heart falters, a piece is lost, return it, and color may return." Mara's hand trembled. She looked to the fading prism map, then to the crystal Bellamy had given her at the start. "Is this?" Remnant's whisper was urgent and full of longing. "It is the lost piece, yours to give or to keep, but the heart's hunger grows." Thim urged, "You don't have to. Maybe there's another way?" But Mara shook her head. "We came this far, for everyone, for the Vale." Taking a deep, steadying breath, she stepped forward, preparing to restore the prism heart and face the mysterious consequence hinted at by Remnant and the shadows. Mara approached the prism heart, each step echoing in the hollow chamber. The heart pulsed weakly, bleeding threads of sepia and gray. The living shadows pressed close, their longing thick in the air. "Are you sure?" Thim whispered beside her, glancing between Mara and the swirling prism. Mara nodded. "We're nothing if we don't try." As she raised Bellamy's crystal, energy surged up her arm, an icy, tingling pain that made her gasp. The heart reacted, colors inside it swirling with an almost desperate hunger. The shadows hissed hope and fear in equal measure. Remnant hovered protectively. "Be swift, Mara. The prism heart and your gift must become one before dusk consumes all." With trembling hands, Mara pressed the fragment into the hollow of the prism heart. A blinding light burst outward, every hue exploding back into the chamber. Scarlet and gold, cobalt and emerald. Mara's vision swam as power rushed through her, the sacrifice of her journey merging with the very core of the Vale. For a heartbeat she was everywhere, swooping over color-starved fields, through hushed forests, above rivers gasping for blue. She could feel the Vale's ache, and its tentative renewal as vibrant rivers of color rushed back into every corner she touched. A chorus of voices, Shadows, villagers, unseen lives rose in exultation and relief. Thim reached out, steadying Mara as she nearly collapsed. "Did it work? Are you all right?" Mara blinked, dizzy. I think we did it, but there's something still missing." Remnant's form wavered, suddenly more substantial, its edges tinged with color. "You returned what was lost, yet sacrifice echoes beyond a moment. The veil needs more than healing, it needs hope kept alive." Thim gripped Mara's hand. "Whatever the next step is, we do it together." As light spilled through cracks in the chamber, color chased away the last of the gray. But the restoration was incomplete. A shadow still clung to the corners, whispering of a deeper cause, a final truth Mara and Thim would have to face if the Prism Vale was to survive for good. For the first time in ages, radiant color began returning to the valley. Rivers gleamed blue again, orchards blushed with vibrant fruit. Yet, everywhere, wary eyes watched the sky, and Mara felt the tension heavy in the air. The prism heart pulsed again with vigor, but a thread of shadow wound around its base, resisting full restoration. Mara and Thim stood together at the dais, catching their breath as the chamber gradually brightened. Remnant drew closer, color flaring softly within its shape. "You have healed much, but the wound that let the grayness in, the oldest wound, remains." Thim frowned. "What is it?" "We gave up what we could. Mara nearly lost herself." Remnant gazed at them, ancient sorrow writ deep in its shifting face. Long ago the veil chose to hoard its color, hiding it from the outside world. That selfishness opened the door to fading. No one, not even the prism keepers, ever tried reaching beyond. Mara's realization dawned slowly. "So you mean the veil has to share its colors?" Remnant nodded. "Only in giving, truly giving, will the gift return whole. Dusk will never leave until the spectrum is spread, not locked away." Mara looked to Thim. "Then we do it. We find a way to share what we've restored, everywhere, not just here." Thim hesitated, his eyes shadowed by doubt. "But the people, the elders, they'll be afraid." Mara gripped his shoulder. "We faced living shadows. We can face them too. We're more than what we've lost." Together they forged a plan, with Remnant guiding them. They would awaken the Vale's villagers, rally old mentors like Bellamy, even reach into the world beyond the hills. It wouldn't be easy. Fear and tradition were powerful adversaries, but Mara felt an unfamiliar joy tangle with her nerves. As they prepared to speak to the entire valley, hearts pounding, Mara understood something profound. The greatest magic was not restoration, but trust. And the decision, the courage, must come from everyone, not just her and Thim. Beyond the chamber, a dawn streaked with new colors promised the final test. And if they found the strength for real change, a future more brilliant than any magic could provide. Mara and Thim emerged from the heart chamber into the awakening vale. The village streets, once muted and somber, now shimmered with hesitant colors that seemed to listen for a signal, waiting to bloom fully. The villagers, elders, children, and tradesfolk gathered around, anxious and uncertain. Mara climbed the mosaic steps, Thim at her side, their crystals glowing like tiny flames. Bellamy limped over, eyes wide. "You did it, Mara, but there's still fear. The skies are no brighter." Mara took a steadying breath. "We all played a part in letting the gray in. The only way to keep the color is to let it flow outward, to make the veil open again." Scattered arguments broke out, fearful voices, old habits gripping tightly. "Give away our color? The veil will fade again." Mara's voice rang, stronger than she felt. "Color grows when it's shared. We choose what we keep, or we choose what we become." Thim nodded, stepping forward. "I lost my blue to save our home. It hurt, but hope filled the emptiness. We don't survive by hiding. We become more, together." The tension hung for a long moment. Then Bellamy raised his cane, old voice echoing. "Mara's right. Let the veil breathe. Release the spectrum." One by one, the villagers came forward, touching their own tokens of color, cloth scraps, painted stones, glass beads, offering them to Mara and Thim. The prism heart above the dais responded, growing brighter, overflowing with color so pure it painted the air. Remnant, now almost whole and partially vibrant, watched as the veil's spectrum burst through the peaks, spilling into the world beyond. The twilight finally broke, dawn unfurling not just over Gossamer Town, but over the neighboring valleys, the forests, the silent rivers once drained of life. The veil's magic was no longer locked away. It was a promise renewed every time someone opened their heart. The colors returned brighter, ever-changing, never hoarded again. Mara felt joy and relief wash through her. She and Thim were no longer just apprentices or underdogs. They were the spark that reminded humanity what sharing hope could do. In the years that followed, stories of Prism Vale's dawn spread as far as the color did, inspiring others who had lived too long in shadow. And Mara, never forgetting what the grayness cost, walked the world as its first true spectrum bearer, ensuring the lessons of the Hidden Valley would never fade.